Today's Two Brew Tuesdays, all about the flower power.
Two Brew Tuesday, drink two beers, yeah! Drink two beers, it's Two Brew Tuesday.
Hello there, my beer drinking friends, and welcome to another Two Brew Tuesday. I'm your host, Andy, and on today's episode, we're actually drinking a couple of beers flavored with flowers. Specifically, both of these beers have hibiscus flowers in them. If you're not familiar, hibiscus, it's usually a bright red flower. It's used often in a Mexican drink called jamaica. You can also make tea from it. It has a sort of a lightly tart flavor, and if you add a little bit of sugar to it, it really actually just tastes like some generic fruit punch a lot of times. I actually have a little bit in this bowl here. You can check it out. The dried flowers start to get a little dark purple, but as soon as you put in some water, it turns the water bright red. So first up, we have a beer from Solarc Brewing. These guys are gypsy brewers that are based in Los Angeles. They've been producing beer for a couple years now. Two guys that were both musicians and artists teamed up. They actually made their name doing a lot of Brew beer, which is basically a style of beer that kind of disappeared when hops came into flavor in the 1600s. Before that time, most people were making beers that were flavored and bittered with herbs instead of hops. So the beer that I've got here today is called Flower Beer. This is a beer that they did over with Mumford. They actually now permanently have a 15-barrel fermenter over at Mumford, so they're doing most of their beers through them. Let's see, and Flower Beer, actually, not only does it have hibiscus, it's also got some dandelion. This is what they call a wheat beer. I've seen it described as a Hefeweizen as well. So yeah, up front, I'm getting sort of a little bit of a tart aroma. You can tell it's got a little bit of acid, sort of a bright, almost cherry fruitiness to it. None of the real, as far as like a hef, I would say there's no real banana or clove, although there is something spicy going on. I didn't mention the color on this guy. It's a nice gold color with sort of just like a soft pink highlight to it. So you can definitely tell they're not using a ton of hibiscus, but the hibiscus that they did use, gives it a little bit of that sort of like rose tinge. So yeah, the flavor on this guy, it's got sort of a very bright, sweet kind of fruit flavor to it, although it does finish pretty dry. I haven't had dandelion before, so I can't tell you which part of which flowers are giving me more flavor, but it definitely has the cherry and almost a strawberry flavor to it. The hopping is pretty low. I would say the beer finish is pretty dry, but because there's not too much bitterness, it does sort of have like a light, lingering, fruity, sweet finish. Lots of carbonation on this guy. It really dances on your tongue. I could see this beer pairing really well with some spicy foods. That contrast of the sweet and the spicy would go really great together. And I'm not really sure that they're using a hef yeast. I would actually imagine it's probably something closer to a saison, because it does kind of have that spicy, finish. So that's our beer from Solarc. Second beer we've got is coming from Sierra Nevada. I assume most of you guys have heard of Sierra Nevada. This is their Pronto IPA. This has both hibiscus and mango. Let's crack this guy open. From what I read online, it looks like this beer is available exclusively from Trader Joe's. So if you're looking for this beer, probably find your closest Trader Joe's. So this guy has more of an orange color. It's got a slight haziness to it. Pretty thick, creamy colored head there. Lots of bubbles. So this beer definitely features a lot of hops too, because it's an IPA. I'm getting a ton of the spicy pine flavors, a little bit of citrus. Right after that is when you start to get a little bit of the mango and the hibiscus, although they're a lot softer than the hops. The hops are really what jumps out. There's also just a little bit of a caramel sweetness to it as well. So yeah, the flavor is a lot like that aroma. It has sort of, I would say, like a medium-high bitterness for an IPA. It's not, scraping your tongue with those hops, because it then lets you kind of taste that sweetness from the mango, and then finishes with sort of that, again, it's sort of like a cherry strawberry sweetness from that hibiscus. That's a really interesting beer. I mean, it's got a lot of things happening. I don't know if it's the best use of the hibiscus, but it's definitely something worth trying. As far as like pairing this food, I would say, burgers, pizza, something, hearty. It's got that strong hop character, which I think goes great with any of those greasy foods and like helping to cut that flavor and, allow your palate to regenerate and be ready for the next bite of food. So those are our 2 beers for 2 Brew Tuesday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give us a thumbs up. Don't forget you can subscribe. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. And until next Tuesday, everyone, cheers.